Situasi ini bagi saya pribadi dan semua keluarga yang mengungsi itu merubah kita punya hidup ya. Jadi kita harus kembali memulai semua jadi dari nol.
Lamberti Fan is one of thousands displaced by violence in West Papua. We've been given rare access to a refugee settlement in Sorong. During military operations against separatists in 2021, the Indonesian army forced their way into Lamberti's village.
Yang terjadi sama kita punya rumah itu sekarang ditempati sebagai pos militer. Saya mengungsi bersama keluarga, suami, sama anak-anak.
This is a war happening largely in secret. Indonesia has tightened controls in West Papua and deployed thousands of troops in an effort to quell Papuan separatists. As many as 100,000 people have been displaced in recent years. This camp at Sorong is just one of dozens across the region.
Di sana pejabat-pejabat yang ada di Maibrat itu mereka berupaya untuk menutupi situasi yang terjadi di sana. Mereka berupaya untuk membangun narasi atau keluar bahwa Maibrat sudah baik-baik saja, sudah tidak ada konflik, tidak ada pengungsi, itu omong kosong.
Away from urban centres, the conflict is intensifying. Many Papuans have never accepted Indonesian rule, and some have taken up arms in a war that's lasted more than 50 years. The Indonesian military has been accused of human rights abuses and extrajudicial killings. Earlier this year, the United Nations Human Rights Committee published a report on Indonesia that said they were concerned about systemic reports about the use of torture and other forms of cruel, inhumane or degrading treatment, in particular on indigenous Papuans.
Karena kita tahu bagaimana kita belajar dari kami pun saudara-saudara di wilayah pegunungan sana, bagaimana kalau konflik terjadi terus pendekatan yang dilakukan militer seperti apa.
Di Papua ini konflik dan itu ada nyata di mata kita, ada faktanya. Lalu pemerintah tidak mengatakan mereka pengungsi. Artinya bahwa pemerintah melakukan pembiaran, dan saya ingin menegaskan kembali, pembiaran itu adalah salah satu unsur pelanggaran hak asasi manusia, kelalaian.
Indonesia has also restricted media access to the region and used internet shutdowns in relation to security operations in Papua.
The humanitarian crisis in West Papua has never ever been this bad.
Veronica Korman is an Indonesian human rights lawyer. She is living in exile in Australia.
In a normal world, this will be catastrophic, being acknowledged by international organizations. But we are not hearing that because international organizations are under de facto ban from entering West Papua.
Separatists have committed atrocities too, killing workers and civilians. Papuan rebels were also responsible for killing a New Zealand pilot in August, while another Kiwi pilot was held hostage for over a year. Rebels have also been burning schools.
They claim that Indonesian schools are teaching them the history, the colonial history.
The cycle of violence has inflamed feelings of hatred on both sides. In one shocking video that emerged earlier this year, Indonesian soldiers can be seen beating a bloodied Papuan inside a barrel with his hands tied. 13 soldiers were later arrested and the Indonesian military apologized for the abuse.
Selanjutnya, tapi kalau belum dengar, lalu ambil kebijakan untuk mengadakan suatu hal yang tidak menyenangkan, tetapi itu manusia, sebagai manusia mereka akan terpancing emosi untuk melakukan tindak.
In 2014, there were hopes for reform when Joko Widodo came to power. He quickly released 5 Papuan political prisoners and pledged to open West Papua to foreign media and human rights organizations. He visited the region nearly 20 times since taking office, but despite an infrastructure and investment drive, his economic and welfare approach has not had the intended effect.
I think President Jokowi's legacy in West Papua is such a disappointment and betrayal. He began in West Papua as the hope. he promised to resolve this tragedy. But then over the years, the number of displacement, the intensity of armed conflict has never this high before.
President Jokowi continued a special autonomy policy for the region, but critics argue it's done little to empower Papuans, who still languish behind the rest of Indonesia in terms of living standards. West Papua is rich in gold, copper, timber, oil and gas. These resources have pumped billions into Indonesia's economy. But Papuans say they have seen little benefit for themselves, and rapid deforestation and expansion of mining are wreaking havoc on the environment.
Orang Papua mungkin karena selama ini kan dihak anak tirikan kayak apa segala macam, pokoknya terpisahkan lah dia punya hak. Mungkin lebih kayak kasih sama dengan seluruh rakyat Indonesia merasakan perbedaan itu, tapi orang Papua tuh kayak punya kehidupan memang sudah beda sekali dengan orang di barat di Jawa sana.
In what's been described as the world's biggest deforestation project, excavators have begun removing 2 million hectares of forest, wetland and grasslands in Merauke district to make way for rice fields, all part of a government push to boost domestic food production. In an unusual step, the project is reportedly backed by the military. And there could soon be an even larger military presence in West Papua. Indonesia will inaugurate a new president this month, Prabowo Subianto. A former military general, Prabowo has been accused of historic human rights abuses in both Timor-Leste and West Papua. He describes separatists as terrorists and says he will do what he must to bring peace to West Papua.
Oh yeah, we will secure the safety of our people. They've been attacking civilians.
During election campaign, Prabowo, when Prabowo spoke about West Papua, it's only about how he would eliminate the separatists. So we can already predict that it will get bloodier from here.
Presiden yang baru terpilih, latar belakangnya juga ini dia seorang militer, tapi khusus kita tuh orang Papua sudah tahu kalau dia nanti orangnya kan terlalu tegas. Tapi saya sendiri berharap bahwa nanti setelah dia jadi presiden, dia harus datangnya ke Papua dan memberikan kebebasan kepada kita orang Papua, khususnya daerah-daerah konflik, memberikan kebebasan kepada masyarakat untuk memberikan hak-hak mereka. Karena hak-hak mereka tertutup, sehingga masyarakat melakukan aktivitas sangat sulit sekali.
At its core, this is a war about self-determination, something many Papuans here feel they've been denied. As conflict rages in the Middle East, some have made comparisons with Palestine. Indonesia has been among the fiercest critics of Israel's war in Gaza and a powerful advocate of Palestinian statehood.
The Palestinian people are entitled to self-determination.
But Indonesia's foreign minister insists the comparison is unfair. Palestine is recognized by more than 100 countries, while West Papua is mainly discussed among Pacific nations.
It's completely different thing.
They have been quite vocal in supporting the independence of Palestine, but very silent and could be very hostile when someone talk about independence of West Papua. And I think that's a reflection of hypocrisy of Indonesia's foreign policy.
Pacific leaders have struggled to get the world's attention on West Papua. Indonesia has courted leaders in Papua New Guinea next door with development aid and economic cooperation.
International community has been very disappointing towards West Papua, including the Pacific nation. I think the biggest reason is because of Indonesia's government's influence. The money and the economic interest of all these nations, they don't want to jeopardize their economic relationship with Indonesia.
Back in West Papua, life goes on, but feelings of neglect persist. In the remote area around Lake Sentani, schools are in crisis. Poor education is an issue that dates back decades. During the rule of Suharto's authoritarian regime, little attention was paid to education in West Papua. The result? Low literacy rates, high rates of school dropout, and a shortage of teachers.
Banyak kita anak-anak Papua juga terkadang saya tidak besar tidak wajar. Dan ini saya tahun kemarin ketemu juga di saya punya sekolah sampai kelas 6 tidak tamat.
Selama kurang lebih 10 tahun terakhir,
10 tahun terakhir itu ada guru yang meninggal tidak diganti, ada yang pensiun tidak diganti, ada yang pindah tidak diganti. Jadi guru semakin habis.
While people want an end to violence, they also want hope for the future.
Kalau penambahan militer, saya rasa kita orang Papua itu tidak butuh militer. Kita butuh pendidikan gratis, kita butuh kesehatan.
Saya punya pesan sendiri untuk negara Indonesia, dia harus mengakui bahwa di Maibrat dan Papua secara umum itu sedang terjadi krisis kemanusiaan dan bahwa di Papua itu sedang tidak baik-baik saja, dan dia harus menyelesaikan masalah ini dengan berdialog untuk mencari akar masalahnya.